Have you ever experienced moments when someone's words or actions left you feeling hurt, dismissed, or disrespected? Sharp words like a blade, or gestures of disregard that seem to ignite a fire within, consuming your calm. Instinctively, you want to react, prove that you are not weak, defend your honor, or fight back to restore balance. Yet, when it's all over, you're left feeling drained and regretful, mourning the composure you've lost. If this resonates with you, know that you're not alone. We've all been there. Stoicism, a timeless framework of wisdom that has endured for millennia, offers a powerful yet subtle solution: silence. In today's world, where instant reactions to every slight or offense are the norm, choosing silence is an act of immense strength. It not only shields you from chaos, but also allows you to reconnect with yourself and reaffirm your core values. What you're about to hear isn't just theory. It's a collection of lessons drawn from Stoicism and my own real-life experiences. Each segment of this content carries an essential message that has the potential to transform how you perceive yourself and the world around you. So, grant yourself a moment of quiet reflection, focus on listening, and don't miss a single part of this journey. Because this could be the beginning of discovering your true inner strength. Now, let's embark on this path together. Number 1, a reaction is all they want. When faced with disrespect, we often feel an almost instinctive urge to react immediately. Feelings of hurt, anger, or the need to defend ourselves surge within, compelling us to retaliate with words or actions. But pause for a moment and ask yourself, will your reaction bring about anything meaningful, or is it merely playing into the hands of the person trying to provoke you? In Stoicism, this is the moment to reclaim control. Instead of responding, silence becomes a powerful choice, a choice that lifts you above the chaos and negativity others try to impose. Those who act disrespectfully are often seeking a reaction. It's their way of asserting power over you. Their words rarely hold true value. Instead, they are bait, designed to pull you into their whirlwind of negativity. By choosing silence, you refuse to engage in their game, forcing them to confront their own behavior. Silence, in this instance, is not a concession, but a declaration. You do not have control over my emotions. As Marcus Aurelius wisely wrote in Meditations, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. True power lies within your ability to govern your thoughts and emotions. Imagine a real-world scenario. A colleague criticizes you openly in a meeting. Their words are sharp, filled with malice, aiming to humiliate you. Your natural response might be to fire back or to justify yourself, but instead, you remain silent, your gaze steady on the speaker, your lips unmoving. The room gradually grows quieter as your calm demeanor starkly contrasts the colleague's lack of control and bitterness. In that silence, you have shifted the spotlight onto them, not for attention, but so they can confront their own behavior. Without saying a word, you have already won. Epictetus famously stated, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The essence of this lesson is that it's not the actions of others that define us, but our responses. By maintaining silence, you not only preserve your inner peace, but also turn that silence into a mirror. The person who disrespected you is forced to look into that mirror, to see their pettiness and turmoil reflected back at them. and that reflection is often far more discomforting than any argument or retaliation could ever be. In the absence of justification or someone to blame, they are left alone with their own missteps. Choosing silence is not easy, especially when our instincts demand that we defend ourselves. Yet each time you choose silence over reaction, you affirm that your worth is not tied to others' respect. Silence is the smarter play, a way of showing that their disrespect holds no power over you. Ask yourself, do I really need to defend myself against words that lack value? Is it worth my energy to argue with someone unworthy of it? Silence, remember, is not weakness. It is the ultimate expression of strength and wisdom. By refusing to react to disrespect, you declare, I am the master of my emotions. No one else can control me. In that silence, you not only rise above the situation, but also teach the offender a profound lesson, that their disrespect harms only themselves, not you. And through your calmness, you triumph in your own way. The next time you encounter disrespect, what will you do? Will you respond the way they want you to, or will you choose the intelligent and powerful route of silence? The choice is yours, but always remember, your peace is your most valuable asset. Protect it. Number 2, not every battle is worth it. When confronted with insults, what disrespectful people often seek most is your reaction. A burst of anger, a retaliatory action, or even a fleeting look of hurt. All these responses serve as the rewards they are after. But pause for a moment and ask yourself, does engaging in this conflict truly add value, or is it merely a waste of your precious time and energy? Stoicism teaches us that sometimes the way to truly win is not through strong retaliation, but by knowing when to remain silent. Not every battle is worth fighting, and not every situation calls for you to respond. Let calmness be your weapon, and let silence become your most powerful statement. Insults only gain power when we allow them to penetrate our minds. By choosing not to react, you not only protect your inner peace, but also send a clear message: your actions cannot reach me. Imagine this scenario. You are standing in a long line at a busy coffee shop on a bustling morning. Just as your turn approaches, someone behind you suddenly cuts in front, their eyes daring you to react. Anger flares up within you. You feel the urge to say something, perhaps a sharp, "Excuse me, but this is my spot." But instead of reacting, you take a deep breath and remind yourself, their behavior reflects on them, not on me. As they place their order, you remain calm. The cashier, noticing the interruption, politely turns to you and asks, "Who's next?" With a soft smile, you step forward, place your order, and carry on, while the person who cut in might now be stewing in discomfort over their own rudeness. Your composure does more than keep you calm. It delivers a powerful message. You are not easily provoked or drawn into the chaos of others. Silence is not weakness. It is strength. Strength that preserves your dignity even when others lose theirs. And in the end, you leave the cafe with your coffee and your peace intact. There are moments when insults say nothing about you, but instead reveal the insecurities of others. By refusing to engage, you force them to confront their own discomfort, without the opportunity to project it onto you. Stoicism does not advocate for silent endurance in every situation. It urges you to choose carefully which battles are worth your energy. What can you let go of to protect your peace? Consider your closest relationships. How many times has a trivial argument escalated simply because you or someone else failed to control their emotions? By choosing silence, taking a deep breath, and examining the situation with reason, you may find that many conflicts simply dissolve. Silence is not blind tolerance. It is a chance to reflect and respond more wisely. Stoicism holds that true freedom lies in refusing to let others manipulate your emotions. When you choose silence, you are not merely avoiding negativity, you are asserting your autonomy. That silence is your way of telling the world, I am above this. I will not allow anyone to drag me down. Remember, victory does not always come through sharp words or retaliatory actions. Sometimes it is found in stepping back to preserve your peace and your values. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. When you remain silent, you not only triumph over yourself, but also compel those who seek to provoke you to confront their own failure. Your silence is resilience. It is strength. It is how you demonstrate grace in a turbulent world. If you've made it this far and still have questions, or if you have a different perspective, or even a personal story you'd like to share, I encourage you to express it in the comments below. Let's explore the best solutions together, because each person's journey is unique, and your insights could be the inspiration someone else needs. Now, let's move on to the next lesson. Number 3, know the difference between reacting and responding. When you choose not to engage in a meaningless battle, it does not mean you are indifferent or weak. Rather, it signifies that you are conserving your energy and focus for what truly matters. Even when you skillfully avoid unnecessary confrontations, there will still be moments that demand a response. In such situations, the question is not merely whether you will act, but how you will act. Reaction and response, often mistaken as synonyms, carry profoundly different meanings. One stems from emotional outbursts, the other from reason and deliberation. Understanding this distinction not only helps you handle disrespect, but also preserves your dignity and core values in any circumstance. It is easy to get swept up in moments of anger when faced with insult or offense. Careless words or tactless actions from others can quickly spark feelings of hurt, even indignation. In such instances, reactions often arise instinctively, impulsive, unfiltered, and driven by raw emotion. But do these reactions truly yield the outcomes we desire? Or do they merely add fuel to the fire, escalating an already tense situation? In contrast, a response is a thoughtful, intentional action. It requires us to pause, reflect, and choose a course of conduct aligned with our values and goals. This is where reason steps in, reminding us that not every provocation warrants a proportional reaction. The Stoics taught us to weigh the importance of each situation, guiding us to focus only on what truly matters. Silence, within the framework of Stoicism, is one of the most powerful forms of response. Many mistake silence for weakness or avoidance, but it is, in fact, a profound expression of restraint and inner strength. When you choose silence in the face of insult, you refuse to let someone else's negative emotions dictate your state of mind. Silence is not about ignoring, it is about compelling the disrespectful individual to confront their behavior without the reinforcement of your reaction. Imagine a loved one lashing out at you in a moment of anger. Responding with your own anger only intensifies the conflict. But choosing to walk away and reflect in silence can diffuse the situation. This silence isn't about abandoning the relationship. Rather, it is about preserving mutual respect and allowing space for the other person to recognize their mistake. Silence, in this case, is not an act of giving up, but an effort to protect and nurture the bond. However, silence is not the solution to every situation. There are moments when silence could be misunderstood as acceptance of wrongdoing. It is crucial to discern when silence is a tool for self-preservation and when speaking up becomes necessary to uphold your values. If disrespect crosses fundamental principles or threatens your dignity, speak up, but do so with calm and reason. The Stoics remind us that speaking when needed and doing so wisely is as important as knowing when to stay silent. This not only protects you, but also fosters healthier relationships built on mutual respect. Silence is not merely a response, it is a moment of connection with oneself. In silence, you can reflect on what truly matters, what deserves your attention, and what is not worth sacrificing your peace of mind. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." True freedom lies in not allowing others to control your emotions or actions. Silence is the means by which you can achieve this freedom. Finally, remember that impulsive reactions often lead to regret, while thoughtful responses reflect maturity. Silence, when wielded wisely, becomes a tool to maintain your inner peace and dignity. So, when faced with disrespect, ask yourself, is this truly worth disrupting my tranquility? If the answer is no, let your silence speak, a silence more powerful than any words could ever be. Number 4, don't let others control you. When you understand the difference between reacting and responding, you begin to realize that immediate action isn't always the wisest choice. Reactions often stem from impulsive emotions, while responses are the result of reflection and reason. It's in that brief moment of pause where you hold the power to decide. Will you let others control your emotions, or will you maintain your inner freedom? Stoicism teaches us that true strength doesn't lie in defeating others, but in conquering ourselves, refusing to let anyone or anything disrupt our inner balance. Harsh words and provocative actions are often designed for one purpose only: to provoke a reaction from you. In those moments, it's easy to lose your composure, to lash out in anger, or to engage in confrontation. But does that truly make you feel stronger, or does it merely turn you into a puppet, pulled by the strings of your emotions? Stoicism reminds us that real strength lies in self-control, not allowing others to govern your state of mind. Silence, when used wisely, becomes the ultimate expression of that control. Let's delve into the essence of silence. It is not a sign of surrender or weakness, but a deliberate and conscious act. Silence allows you to step back from conflict, creating a quiet space in your mind to reflect. When you choose silence in the face of disrespect, you're not merely opting out of negativity, you're asserting control over yourself. You're protecting your core values and safeguarding your precious energy from being drained by meaningless matters. Have you ever asked yourself, does reacting immediately really solve the problem? Picture a familiar situation. In a meeting, a colleague openly criticizes you unfairly. If you react with anger and respond on impulse, you might feel a fleeting sense of satisfaction. But what remains afterward? A never-ending argument, heightened tension, and possibly regret for losing your temper. Now imagine staying silent, holding your composure. What happens then? Your silence forces them to face their own words, unshielded by your reaction. Most importantly, you retain control over yourself and over the situation. The world around you may be full of injustices and disrespectful remarks, but how you choose to respond is what defines you. Someone who chooses silence doesn't do so because they cannot speak. but because they understand that not every battle is worth fighting. This silence is a refusal to let external forces invade your inner peace, a determination to preserve the tranquility you've worked so hard to cultivate. Think of a bus driver who encounters rude, impatient passengers every day. If he argues with each one, he'd quickly exhaust himself and lose focus on driving safely. Instead, he chooses to smile, remain silent, and continue doing his job. This doesn't just protect his mood, it also gradually makes those difficult passengers recognize the strength in his calmness. Similarly, your silence becomes an invisible boundary, showing others that you're not easily swayed by negativity. Silence is not just a way to distance yourself from negativity. It also creates space for introspection. In that quietness, you can ask yourself, does this truly matter? Is my response aligned with my core values? These questions help you focus on what genuinely matters, rather than being drawn into pointless disputes. And it is in this stillness that you find the key to rejuvenate your energy, regain balance, and grow. We're halfway through this journey, and if you're still here, that says so much about you. You're someone committed to growth, ready to face challenges, and unafraid to change. But this journey isn't over yet. Every section of this message is a piece of a larger puzzle, and only by staying until the end will the full picture come together. If these insights resonate with you, like this video to help spread this energy to others. Let's complete this journey together, because the best is yet to come. Number 5. Silence changes everything. When you refuse to let others control your emotions and actions, you reclaim mastery over your mind, a power no one can take from you without your consent. But what happens when you face disrespect? In such moments, silence becomes more than just a way to maintain control. It transforms into a powerful tool to shift the dynamics. Silence is not avoidance. It is your choice to rise above, preserve your peace, and reaffirm your self-worth. It is like a pause in a symphony, a deliberate stillness that allows reason and dignity to take center stage instead of impulsive reactions. In that space, you realize that silence not only protects you, but also holds the power to change everything. Remaining silent in the face of disrespect is not a sign of weakness or surrender. On the contrary, it demonstrates inner strength and self-possession. By choosing silence, you make a profound decision to let no one and nothing dictate your mind or emotions. It is not the disrespect itself, but your response, or in this case, your choice of silence, that truly defines who you are. Imagine you are presenting an idea to your team, something you have spent considerable time and effort preparing. As you finish, a colleague scoffs and remarks, "This idea is so ordinary, it's nothing special." Your initial reaction might be hurt or anger, but instead of snapping back, you choose to remain silent. In that moment of quiet, you gain control over your emotions and the time to consider, is this critique worth engaging with, or is it just a fleeting reaction? Silence helps you avoid unnecessary conflict while prompting the other person to reflect on their actions. When you finally speak, your composure and rationality will make you far more persuasive and admirable. Silence also sets a standard for how others treat you. Consider a child frequently criticized by their parents with harsh words like, "You'll never amount to anything." Reacting with anger would likely escalate the situation, worsening the emotional strain. However, choosing silence sends a clear message. You reject disrespect, but you also refuse to be drawn into negativity. In that silence, you grant yourself the space to reflect and decide the best course of action moving forward. Silence is not about condoning disrespect. It is about safeguarding your inner peace, rising above negativity, and affirming your self-worth. Think back to a time when a stranger insulted you in public, yelling irrational accusations to provoke a reaction. If you chose to remain silent and walked away, you didn't just avoid conflict, you sent a powerful message that their words held no sway over you. As Seneca wisely said, anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. In such moments, silence becomes your greatest defense, protecting both your dignity and your mind. Silence also offers a profound gift, the time and space to reflect on your true worth. You do not need to prove anything to those who fail to respect you. Marcus Aurelius captured this sentiment perfectly in Meditations. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one. Instead of dwelling on criticism or misunderstanding, focus on becoming the best version of yourself. By staying silent, you demonstrate alignment with your values rather than allowing others' judgments to shake you. The next time you are disrespected or insulted, ask yourself, what can this silence protect for me? Do I really need to respond? Silence is not an end, but a powerful step toward asserting your values and taking control of your life. It is the ultimate expression of freedom. Freedom from unnecessary conflict and freedom to live a life worthy of your deepest principles. Number 6. Set boundaries with silence. Silence, at its core, is far more than just a way to control your emotions. It is a profound, wordless declaration of your values and boundaries. When you choose to remain silent in the face of insult, you're not merely protecting your inner peace, you're sending a powerful message. No one is allowed to cross the lines you've drawn. This is neither avoidance nor weakness. Instead, it is your way of shaping how others treat you. Imagine this. You're at a casual gathering with friends, and suddenly, someone makes an insensitive or even offensive remark, likely to draw the crowd's attention. Anger bubbles up within you, but instead of reacting impulsively, you choose silence. You offer a calm smile, refrain from responding, and shift your focus back to your conversation with someone else, as though the remark never existed. Your composure transforms the atmosphere. The offender begins to feel awkward, realizing their words hold no sway over you. In that moment, your silence becomes a powerful response, a mark of maturity and quiet confidence. This isn't about lowering yourself to engage in petty exchanges. It's about asserting a higher standard. Without uttering a word, you communicate, "I won't stoop to what isn't worth my attention." Silence is also a way of affirming your self-worth without the need for validation. As Epictetus once said, if you are ever tempted to look for outside approval, realize that you have compromised your integrity. If you need a witness, be your own. Hurtful words only harm you if you allow them to. By choosing not to respond, you refuse to let others define your value. Your silence becomes an act of defiance, an expression of self-respect, and a rejection of the need for external validation. When used wisely, silence is a formidable weapon. It is not surrender. It is a statement that you know what you deserve and that certain things are beneath your concern. Those who don't understand may perceive your silence as weakness, but over time, it becomes a voice louder than any explanation. Time, after all, unveils truth, and your silence will echo longer and stronger than any hasty response. The boundaries you set through silence aren't an expression of coldness or a refusal to engage. Rather, they are the reflection of a heart that knows how to protect itself from unnecessary harm. When you choose to remain silent, you deny anger and negativity the power to invade your peace. This is not passivity, it is wisdom. It is freedom from the chaos of external influences. Silence is your choice to preserve inner harmony, ensuring that meaningless words cannot touch your soul. Silence is not avoidance, it is your way of controlling the narrative of your life. When you remain silent, you refuse to let someone else's words or actions define who you are. Ask yourself, do you want to be remembered as someone easily swayed by others or as a person of calm strength? Let your silence be a testament to your dignity, your resilience, and your inner power. The next time you face disrespect, remember this. It is not retaliation, but silence that is your most potent weapon. Comment, I choose silence to declare to the world that no one will cross your boundaries or disturb your inner peace. Say it with conviction, because when you choose silence, you are not only protecting yourself, but also affirming your absolute control over your life. Silence is not surrender. It is a bold affirmation of your understanding of your worth, one that requires no approval from anyone. This is profound wisdom, the foundation upon which we reach the pinnacle of today's journey, a place where serenity and inner strength guide every action. Number 7. Find yourself through silence. Silence is not merely a way to establish boundaries, it is an opportunity to reconnect with yourself. When you refuse to react to insults or provocations, you are not just stepping away from chaos, you are creating space for reflection. In that quiet moment, you begin to see what truly matters. This is not just about protecting yourself, it's about discovering who you are at your core. The ultimate lesson Stoicism teaches us is not only to remain silent in the face of others, but to embrace silence as a tool to understand ourselves better. In that stillness, you don't just find peace, you rediscover the values and principles that define you. When someone disrespects you, your immediate reaction might be anger, hurt, or even a deep questioning of your self-worth. Their harsh words can feel like arrows aimed at your most treasured values, and your instinct may urge you to respond, to defend yourself. But pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what would happen if you didn't react immediately? What might change if you chose silence? In moments like these, silence is not just restraint. It is an invitation to step back from emotional turbulence and look inward with clarity. This silence is a gift. It gives you the time and space to reflect. What do I truly stand for? What do I believe in? When you resist the urge to respond impulsively, you might realize that not every argument deserves your energy and time. In life, we are often drawn into petty conflicts, trivial exchanges that do little to nurture our growth or peace. You might think that reacting will safeguard your dignity, but be honest, does it truly make you feel better? Or does it pull you deeper into a cycle of exhaustion and frustration? Let silence serve as a much-needed pause to realign with your core values. If you value kindness, will harsh words truly make you stronger, or will they distance you from that ideal? If you cherish calmness, does anger make you feel justified, or does it leave you with a bitter aftertaste? Epictetus once said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." Insults, no matter how sharp, only hold power if you grant it to them. In silence, you reclaim that power. Silence is not just a refusal to participate in chaos. It is a mirror reflecting what you hold dear. It reminds you that honor is not something anyone can take away with a mere insult. Your self-worth cannot be shattered by fleeting words. In that stillness, you understand that inner peace doesn't come from proving yourself right to others. It comes from staying true to who you are. Sometimes, the strongest statement you can make is to remain silent. Think back to the last time you were insulted. If you reacted, did the outcome bring you peace? And if you stayed silent, did it make you feel stronger? Stoicism doesn't teach us to avoid confrontation, but to face chaos without letting it obscure our true selves. Silence is not a retreat. It is a strength, a means to stand firm in the values you believe in. In a world filled with noise, pressures, and disrespect, silence is more than an action. It is a declaration. A declaration that you know who you are, that you don't need to prove yourself to anyone, and that you choose to protect the peace within your soul. The next time you face an insult, pause and ask yourself, is this worth losing my peace over? And remember, silence is not only a way to preserve your strength, but a path to rediscover yourself. We've just explored 7 reasons why silence is one of the most powerful tools when faced with disrespect. From regaining emotional control, affirming your self-worth, to setting firm boundaries, silence is not an act of avoidance, but the ultimate expression of strength and self-awareness. Remember, you don't need to react to everything to prove your value. Your worth is reflected in how you live and how you maintain inner peace amidst the chaos around you. If you found this video helpful but haven't clicked like yet, please do so now to help spread these meaningful messages to more people. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your insights and reflections inspire future content. And don't forget to share this video with your loved ones, as they, too, deserve to discover the inner strength found in Stoicism. Lastly, hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell, as there are many more inspiring videos on the way to guide you on the journey of mastering your mind and life. Thank you for being here with me today.